Get more on the countdown of the biggest event of 2024. 80 million registered voters in the US casting or have casted their vote now. Peter McGuire from XM joining me. So I'm just looking at the race to these 270 electoral votes now. The president, Harris has 3, Trump has 19 according to the latest data we're seeing. The Democrats have 29 Senates, the Republicans have 39, the Democrat has 1 House, the Republicans 2, but we know that this is going to be down to the wire.
Absolutely.
It's all about volatility, right?
Yes, it absolutely. Good morning, Juliette. We've cast 80 million. There's 80 million going to vote. I think it shuts in a couple of hours' time, 2 a.m. Eastern. That's GMT, of course. So you're looking at about 1 p.m. here. We'll get a run probably into the afternoon and leading into the UK session and then naturally into US session tonight. So, yeah, strap yourself in. It's going to be an interesting 6 or 8 hours ahead. And then naturally, you've got the Fed decision tomorrow. So, there's a lot of, as you said, volatility. And when you're looking at what's happened over the last 30 days, we've seen some record volatility. So, 10 out of 10 in the sense of scale. So there's a lot of those currency markets that are extremely volatile.
Yeah, absolutely. We've seen a lot of volatility in cross assets as well. And I was interested as well to see some of the hedging, particularly when you haven't seen some big moves in the S&P 500 over the last month or so, but volatility amongst the highest that we've ever seen on the eve of an election.
Yeah.
Where are you seeing the most momentum? Is it in the likes of gold and crypto, or what are you looking at?
Well, I think gold, you can't take your eye off the focus of it.
Yeah.
It was this time last year in October, we hit a low of 1810. Now you're at 2750, been to 2800. Who would have thought it's put on $1,000 in it 13 months? So there's the first part. There's been whipsawing across the silver market, and have a look at energy. Energy's well down compared to where we were a year ago. So that's a consideration. Big volatility swings. It's bid up, it's bid down. Geopolitical plays into it. You've got Rafael, could be a hurricane today. So all of those factors, and then the Iran situation with Israel, is it going to be retaliatory? And they're saying it will be. So the impact of that on crude oil prices.
You mentioned earlier in the week when you were talking to Andrew about the whipsaw and the Aussie as well on the back of this. I mean, if it does become another Trump presidency and we do have these concerns about more trade wars with China, what does that mean for the Aussie and I guess for our resources as well?
Well, I would think, first off, if I look at the Aussie, I think it would get under selling pressure. So I wouldn't be surprised, maybe a 63 to 65 sort of handle, but it's a hard one to determine because how quickly is he going to ratchet those tariffs in? You could be April or May next year, or it may happen a lot sooner, who knows? And then the impact that has to our trade and to China's domestic, and they've got their own issues at the moment as far as the debt bubble. So all of those factors need to be played out as well. So yeah, I think it's going to be an interesting Aussie dollar trade against naturally the US, and keep an eye on it against the euro as well.
And cryptocurrency has been a big one as well. The swings that I guess we've been seeing in the likes of Bitcoin, what does that tell us?
Well, all you can say is it's just one-way traffic. We've been sold off from that 72, 73 handle back to a 67, 68, but I think there's the momentum to drive it further and higher. The Trump presidency, if they are elected, then he's pro-crypto. So that's going to be fascinating again. People are saying is 100 the new handle there as far as 100,000 for a Bitcoin US dollar. It's just a wait and see. But yeah, I think 25 is going to be a fascinating year. I'm very excited. Traders are loving the volatility, and that's what they live on.
I was going to say volatility is a trader's best friend.
Yeah.
We've touched on oil and we did touch on the Aussie. I wanted to talk about the euro dollar as well, because volatility there, something like a 30-day high.
Yeah.
There is the likelihood if Trump comes in again as well that could cause higher tariffs for Europe too.
Yes.
So what does that all mean?
Well, you would think that the euro would come under pressure. I wouldn't be surprised for that to happen. I mean, they've got their own concerns as far as growth numbers, Juliette. We all understand the fragility of the euro market at the moment. So I would think there are traders out there, and some analysts are saying, it could be parity. So I wouldn't be surprised to test those 106, 105 sort of handle. It's currently, languishing around that 108, 109. So I think a little bit of further pressure there. Let's see also what the Fed's prepared to do, because that naturally is the other side of the trade. Everyone's saying it's baked in for tomorrow, 25 basis points and 20% probability for 25 in December. So I sit here and go, if that's the number, then let's see it drop. And let's see the rhetoric coming from Fed Chair Powell, which would give us a good indication how that rolls into the new year.
Yeah, and normally we would be focusing all over the Fed, but obviously the election taking a little bit of the focus from that. But do you think if we do see that 25 basis point cut, it's going to be the last cut for the year?
Well, you got a 20-25% probability. I've got to see, they're very worried about the NFP number that came out the other night, 12,000. So as far as the employment sector, I think there's pressure on Main Street. So that's going to be interesting. What happens as far as the next NFP, and maybe the Fed policy is, throw another 25 into it. So I'm erring on that side that I wouldn't be surprised to see another cut in December. We've just got to wait and see the commentary coming from tomorrow night from Fed Chair Powell.
And I guess just more broadly on that so-called Trump trade, I mean, it sort of energized some of the dollar bulls, but we did see some of those trades unwind when you look at the Treasury market earlier in the week too.
Sure.
So again, I know volatility is the key here, but what are you watching most closely when the polls start to come through?
I want to see the 10-year, I want to see the 2-year, I want to see what happens as far as equities and what impact that has naturally, and US dollar index.
Yeah.
So that tells me the general theme of things, and you just get a little bit of I think a feeling. I've been up since 4:30. I went to bed last night at about 11, so I think I'm going to have a sleepless night tonight, because you've got to watch these markets and watch them closely, because you could see big swings over that session. And I wouldn't be surprised to see, 2 or 3% as far as volatility, maybe even across US dollar index. I think there could be some fireworks over the next 24 to 36 hours.
And we were talking out in the newsroom before in 2016, which surprised many in the market when Trump got elected. Some of the trades that were really not baked in when you look at the spike in the Mexican peso, for example. Yeah. Do you think this time around markets are potentially a little bit more hedged?
Savvy or hedged? Well, I would think so, because people learn from those mistakes or learn from those opportunities. And so as far as from a retail perspective, globally, people are very much plugged in. They're listening and they're understanding what the themes are, and they're conscious of it because they're trading with their own funds. So I sense that they're all watching screens closely and very conscious as far as opportunity. Yeah. Don't marry a trade, Juliette.